Okay, why doesn't the picture ever match the preview? Okay, I think we are live. Let's check for audio. Welcome. Tilt the glasses so I don't get that reflection. Big curve on the hat because that's just the way I like it. Get those two questions out of the way. And let's see what we got in chat. Okay, no, I don't want to subscribe to this channel. Am I coming through with the audio? Everybody. Scott Bodfoot, hello. Eric Haverson. Justin, thanks for joining us. Alexander, thank you also. Can you wrench Vaping 3D? I can only wrench once they're here. Oh, I see. Wait. Okay, Vaping 3D. Now, Alexander, is that you or is that somebody else? Thanks, Justin. Cam, thank you. Andrew, hello. Welcome. Brent, welcome. Phil Salt, hello. Yes, I washed my hands. I always did that a lot anyway when I came from outside because I don't like the cold or the flu. So you come in from outside, yeah, you put everything away and then you just wash your hands. Now you scrub a lot more. Okay. Alexander, let me see what I can do here. Okay, Alexander, it should be okay now. Kim, hello to Copenhagen. I was just talking to a friend of mine who's living there now and saying it's not crazy there yet, but yeah, it's getting there. No problem, Alexander. Brent, good evening. Yeah. Oh, did it again. No mod. No worries. I can go without for an hour. Ah, Scott MC, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I didn't have with the insanity of this week and prepping and just all kinds of stuff going on. Um, Huge number of emails and calls and stuff with clients and et cetera, trying to coordinate things. Um, Andrew Moses, welcome. Duncan Yo-Yo, welcome back. Just didn't have a topic for tonight, so I thought we would just chat and go through questions that you have instead of me yapping on for half an hour and taking up topics, taking away from question time that people might have. But everyone's running around like crazy, so I don't know if anyone will be here tonight with questions, but we'll see what happens. If nothing else, we just sit for an hour and see what comes up. Eirik, hello from Norway. Hello. Do you have any tips for my SQ topside? I got it yesterday and already have a lot of arcing damage. Tried cleaning the contacts, but now it seems to have gotten worse. Um, no, no tips for the topside that I can think of. I don't remember actually. I'm blanking out on what it looks like inside and setting and what the contacts were and what you might be able to do. Certainly daily maintenance. That's the only thing you can do. Take down the high spots with like a Scotch-Brite heavy duty scrubber pad. The pits you won't be able to get rid of, but any things. Now, if you might try a different battery, it might have a slightly different shape. It might have better contact. If there's any denting on your battery, that might concentrate where some of the points are taking place. But that's oh wait, I don't remember where the contact takes place on the battery, or is it a separate set of contacts? I'm sorry, I'm totally blanking out on the top side and how it works internally. Andrew Moses, did I ever get a chance to test the Ruby 21 yet? No. No, I had a message in to Kennedy Enterprises about getting the copper housing, but I haven't tested the Ruby yet. I'd like to test it with both the stainless steel and the copper. Hopefully that's something I can get back to and get that tested. Maureen, hello, welcome. This motherfucker here. What regulated mod has impressed you the most? Sorry if this is a repeat question. Impressed me the most. I don't get my hands on very many of them. Occasional ones I buy, a couple of wonderful gifts from some vendors. Uh, Trying to think. That the Sigali Zephyr actually has impressed me with its engineering and with the safety precautions it takes. So it's an expensive mod, and I know some people have some frustrations with the touch, but the touch has worked perfectly for me. It's small for what it's got in it. The safety that they built into it, in principle, is great. I can never guarantee any device is going to be safer than another. It's up to the individual device and how it's manufactured. Um, but otherwise, I don't get my hands on a lot of them. I might get my hands on maybe two or three a year to be able to play with and really dig into. Um, I still like my eFusion Duo DNA 200 Dual 18650 setup. I'm still impressed by the Evolve boards. But for anything that's come up new, and that's at least a couple years old, but for anything new, I don't know a lot. That any of the top sides have impressed me with their engineering, um, the regulated top side, and I don't know any others. Sorry. Jam, welcome. All right, thanks anyway. When I cleaned it, I got a few scratches on the contact. That's the top side. Could that have done it worse? Probably not, but the smoother the contact, the better. Addy Tooney, welcome. Thanks for joining us. I would ask that anybody with a question put battery space mooch at the beginning of the question. You don't need a hashtag, you don't need an @ symbol, just battery space mooch. That way I get a nice bright red tag. It's really easy for me to see your question and not accidentally skip by it. John Benanati asks, what do you think of unicorn mods? I just bought the Tenacious Mech kit as my first real mech. I'm more into single mod, single coil, mount align, like a single battery. Um, Nothing against, I haven't played with them. Nothing either way, really haven't played with them a lot. Being the battery guy, I don't get an awful lot of mods here to play with. Um, Now the Tenacious Mech kit, which is that a Keen or is that a Dreamer for the mech? Super Nerd, thanks for joining us. Justin, I like how DJ LSB Vapes tests his mods on a scope to show you how they actually behave. Yeah, yeah, and that's critical too, because for a regulated mod, if it has a 200-watt rating, no mod's going to give you 200 watts at its, let's say it can do zero point 0.1 to 3 ohms. It's only going to do 200 watts at a very narrow resistance range. What I've seen, 0.12 to 0.17 or something like that. The rest of the time, you get less. Um, a well-designed device and maybe drops a few watts or 25 watts. A badly designed device might get half the power. Let's say at 3 ohms or something like that. No one's going to be vaping at 200 watts at 3 ohms, but if you see the 200, you want it across. But it's incredibly hard because there's like a curve to how the power responds. You get 200 watts at some point, not at the ends, but at 3 ohms, it's down. At zero point 0.1 ohm, it's down. To flatten that curve out, get 200 watts across all the resistances means you probably need a 500-watt mod. That's no one's going to do. It's too expensive to be able to sell, and it'll be huge. Subaru Nerd Bates, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Mark Lane, our Arizona advocate. Hey, Mooch, put battery space Mooch in the front. Make sure I can see in it. Working on rewrapping batteries that had nicks in them. Looked closer at my 10 sets of 2 and found a lot. I rotate them, but got lazy and didn't check. Yeah, dents are real easy to build up. Just a little bit here and there, we drop them if we're putting in the charger, drop on the table, pulling them out of the charger in a mod. I drop my batteries all the time on the floor. So it's easy to build up. So the rewrapping sets is perfect to start to check and go, it's starting to build up a lot. Maybe it's time to replace these. Oh, Joshua F. D. Miller. Neither came out with a mod with Unicorn. Oh, don't know anything about it. Sorry. Justin, yeah, they all seem to do better under point two. Yeah, from what I remember about DJ LSB Vapes tables and then Peepus Artles when he was doing it, it was around a 0.15, 0.17, somewhere in there that they peaked. And then you hope they didn't go off too much for lower or higher resistances than that. Luckily, that matched up pretty well with what a lot of people will put into the device when they want 200 watts out of it. Florida Vapes, how you doing, my man? I'm doing good, dude. What's up? Duncan Yo-Yo. Seems like that's normally because of the output voltage limit of the chip and its efficiency. Yeah, you've got a curve for output voltage and output current, or lines, that, hey, it does this output current and this output voltage, and those combinations of current and voltage aren't going to be just beautifully straight across all the resistances. At lower resistances, you're limited by the current rating of the device. At higher resistances, you're limited by the voltage rating of the device because you need more voltage to push current through there. At very low resistances, you need tons and tons of current to make the power that's requested. Maureen, I'd like to get into mechs, but don't know my ohms. You and ohms have to become best buddies before you get into mechs. I just use DNAs. I'm very careful with my current batteries, but don't quite understand ohms. Where do I start? I don't have a good particular reference, but anything on Ohm's law, it's real basic. You can check a couple of videos that I have in Minding Your Mechs series and Minding Your Mas. Episode 2 of my Minding Your Mas series is on mechs, choosing batteries for mechs. And then my Minding Your Mechs series is a couple episodes on choosing resistances. I think it might have been for series mechs, though. But Ohm's law is incredibly simple. It's just that we don't want to learn it. So we're just like, oh God. And that just puts up a wall to understanding. Just embrace it, realize you're going to have to spend 5 minutes on it, run it 10 times, practicing a bunch of numbers. Don't get a calculator, online calculator, something like that. Just you can do that later after you understand it. The online calculators a lot of times are just a real problem. They interfere with you actually understanding what is going on. Why am I seeing flashing in the background? Oh, getting some flickering there. Tell me if that's flickering and if that's annoying. That wasn't happening last time or any of the other times. Huh, interesting. So, Maureen, Ohm's Law, or you can check YouTube for tutorials on Ohm's Law, but a vaping related one would be better. But you have to know that because that's the only way you can know what current rating for the battery you're using in the mech. And that's on top of the physical understanding about hybrid top cap mechs and the atomizer pins, batteries, battery wrap care, stuff like that. Tobai, welcome. Mancunian Biker. I think I got that right. Hey, Mooch, just want to say a massive thank you for everything you've done and continue to do for the community. Without your testing, most of us would be SOL. I won't say that. When it comes to cell choice, thank you for the kind words, sir. Thank you very much. Adi Tooney, still building using pre-mades? Any favorite RTA now? Yeah, but I have some Illumi's braids that I hope to, well, I guess that's pre-made. I can't make a braid, but I've got to turn it into a coil. Um, any favorite RTA now? Intake Dual? Well, since it's the only one I'm using now, you know what it is? I kind of go through a phase. I use one for a few months, and then I'll dig back for a couple of years and pull one out, and dig back out a couple of years and pull one out. Thing is, though, I don't have an all-day vape, so I'm not often using a tank. Typically, I'll use drippers. It's rare when I do use a tank. It's really when I'm saying, hey, I'm just going to put some 70 VG with a touch of mint in there because I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to just do this today because I'm low on juice or something like that. But for the pre-mades, yeah, basic tricore Claptons, fuse Claptons, dual that I've been using just because I just don't have the time to experiment. There might be something better. I don't have the time to look for it. Fernando Patricio, your thoughts on regulated PWM boards like NLPWM? Some of them, and I think there's smart PWM. It's got a good rep. I haven't tested them. I think they're fine. They've got some pretty good safety features in there. That's what things I'd like to see: short circuit protection, stuff like that, because you're still firing the batteries at the full current level. If you've got a zero 0.1 ohm build in there, you're firing the battery at 35, 37 amps. You're just doing it for very short pulses. So I'd like to see good protection set in there. Some of the regulated ones, and I forgot if NLPWM is regulated or not. I think it's a great idea. They can use they calculate the average voltage going to the coil and regulate the PWM pulse widths to get you that power level you're requesting. But I don't have any personal experience in terms of reliability and accuracy and things like that. It's on the list, but it's been on the list for a couple of years to test. General PWM boards, not NLPWM itself. Sam S., I got good at identifying fake batteries from you, Mooch. Mooch. I've been able to find other knockoff goods much easier. Excellent. Like spark plugs, similar box size, same printing. Even need to check resistance. Wow, that's good. Yeah, it can kind of, once you start looking at one thing, you start to go, oh, wait, okay, yeah. It kind of does open your mind as to where other things might come in terms of like the boxes or the fine print that might be in the printing of the box or the way the product is labeled or something like that. Sam S. Okay. Yeah, but I'm wondering, oh yeah, I can see. Well, if anyone gets annoyed, it starts getting really annoying, let me know. But the thing is, it must be just where it happened to, you fire it up and it locks on at one point. And my other times I came on, it locked on at a different point and you didn't see the blink. Now we're seeing the blink. Um, John Benenati. Mooch, you're so right about us wanting to learn Ohm's law. I had to do a crash course. Guys, my FB group helped me, and I watched YouTube videos. Thank you as well for all you do. Thank you, sir. Yeah, and the community is really good about this. Well, no, some people are savage if you don't know it, but the rest are really good about saying, "Hey, check here, check there," something like that, for resources that they have. I haven't done an Ohm's Law video because I there's literally over a million different resources available for it, and it's just voltage equals current times resistance, and that is it. That is all you have to learn, and you can just move things around to get anything that you want. Hayes VE. Big thank you at first. Thank you. Are there any mech tests in the queue? The Ruby, and hopefully the Vindicator 21 again, if I can get a copper housing for the bottom. But otherwise, I've got some cheap box mods to test, but otherwise nothing else has come in for me to test. The clutch was the last one in the queue, other than the cheap box mods. I have like 5, 15, $20 box mods just to see how bad are they compared to the more expensive ones. Maureen, thanks for your answers. So much to look into. Yeah, it can look overwhelming, but it just step at a time. It really isn't. Just break it down. John Bedanati, what was your final answer on your own something? I can't see what that icon on is. Is it a battery? I find it very hard to believe your battery wouldn't sell well in the vape community. All of us would back you up. Thank you for your confidence. Problem is, in fact, I did a power hour on this. Last week's power hour was why isn't there a Mooch battery? You haven't been watching my power hours. Several reasons. One, let me stop this from scrolling. What battery would I pick? Let's say I grab the Molicel P26A and the Molicel P42A, two astounding batteries that from a company that supports us that I can get known grades from. I can sell you guys all the grade D and make $1 million, or sell you grade A's and make a little bit of money. No, I would only sell grade A. Problem is, for the community, it's very price sensitive. And I would come in and, what do I got to get a cut. We've designed the wraps, so the cost for wraps, I've got to make a little bit of money off this. I'm going to be doing a lot of testing. My name's on it. Uh, it's going to be a more expensive battery than what people can get from any number of sources. And people would go, why should I pay more for the same battery? I was thinking of, hey, well, why don't I go into some of the emerging technologies now, solid state batteries and things like that. None of them are ready or our volumes are too low. I approached the battery manufacturer, who I trust, and said, I'd like to modify one of your batteries. It's tweaking chemistry, maybe a physical tweak or something. 3 million cells a year minimum. 3 million. We can't do that. We could do 1/30th of that maybe the first year, and then nobody buys anything for 2 years because they all have their batteries that they want. So right now, it's just not the right time to have a Mooch battery. Stephen, thanks for joining us. Susan Cooper, people are telling me that they get 5 years from batteries. They abuse charging at, I guess, 2 amps of full 4.2. Well, 2 amps isn't abusive, though, for a lot of batteries. The Sony VTC5 series, I think, are rated around 4. The Molicel P26A is at 6 amps rated. The Molicel P28 excuse me, P42A is 8 amps rated. So a lot of cells can be charged at 2 amps without any problems. A lot can't. Check for the cells you're using. But if you're not otherwise abusing it, especially if you're using like a regulated mod or actually any vaping, you're stopping at like 3.2 volts, 3.6 volts. That's just the normal place we stop with. And that's just not going to be a problem, or that helps uh, extend the life. And if you're not using them really, really hard, then charging at 2 amps, even for a 2 amp rated battery, is not great for it. But in other ways, you're taking care of it. Or there may be things like the rotating between 10 batteries. Little things like that can make a big difference to how long a battery lasts. Susan Cooper, if true, what does treating batteries nice do? Extends their life significantly. Like if you can charge a battery to 4.05 volts, you lose 15% of the capacity, but you can double the life of the battery. Don't go around quoting that number. There's this whole big thing before. Mooch said you get twice the life if you do this. These are just rough order of magnitude guesses. Let's just say much more life out of them because a lot of it depends on how you're storing it, how you're charging it, how you're using it. So charging it, never letting them heat up too much. Some chargers heat up batteries a lot more than others, even at the same charge rate. That makes a difference. How hot they get during use. Are you rotating with other batteries? All these things make a difference. And I have a Minding Your Mouse episode on how to extend the life of your batteries. Fernando Patricio, welcome. Thank you. I'm thinking of going with a LiPo 4S and an NLPWM, tired of the 6.2 volts of the DNA 250C. Okay, so there you go. Just realize you've got 16 volts blasting to your coils, um, 15, 14 volts or something blasting to your coils, and you will be pulsing the battery. It's 14 volts at whatever your resistance is. Let's say it's zero point 0.1 ohms. No, you'd never do that. Well, if you have it turned way down, you would. You're trying to draw 140 amp pulses from your battery that will age them faster. PWM, in my mind, can significantly accelerate the aging of a battery because you've got these full power pulses. Yes, they're rare, but you still got this tremendous current flow that plates lithium-ion to things, accelerates decomposition of stuff, even if the battery isn't getting hot. I'd like to do some formal testing on that, but I haven't. But it's definitely not better for the battery. Brad Palmer, what batteries do you have lined up for testing? I've got a bunch of Amps Plus batteries arriving from the UK. Let's see. I just put up the Panasonic. I've got the VapCell 26650s coming up soon, the new one, the 5300 mAh, that they're replacing the other ones with. After that, in the queue, I don't remember what's up for the queue. I'd have to check. I'll be doing some retesting of all the home tech batteries because they're having a bunch of wrap changes, and I just want to do kind of an overview of all the home tech batteries all at once, probably in a video or something, because with Samsung and LG cracking down more on vendors, people are going to be looking to, home tech, Molly cells, Amps Plus, other places for their cells. And so I think it's a good chance to get in there and start to identify some of the alternatives for people if they do find these cells, Samsungs and LGs in particular, becoming harder to find. Norma, hola, from Spain, welcome. I think that's what he's saying. Yeah, Justin, he's running out of batteries to test. Not a lot of batteries out there to test other than the ones I'd love to test, which are dozens of them in Asia, and that a huge number of vapors are forced to buy because they can't get anything else than these, Tohas, Enuks, AWTs, and all these other things with preposterous ratings. And I'd love to test them, but I've been trying for years to get them here, and the manufacturers are like, "Oh, hell no, we're not sending you anything." The ones that do send me them, that's great. Hey, that's fantastic. I think that, they believe in their batteries. That's good. That's what a manufacturer should. It's a bad sign when the manufacturer says we're not going to, and I'm not asking for free batteries. I'm saying they will not sell them to me. I buy these things whenever I can. So I've been trying to get them. There'll be dozens of batteries to test. The ones here in the States, not as much, but that gives me time to go into other videos, do Power Hour. Um, and the other things like that as other batteries slowly start coming to the market. But I've tested about 310, 320, something in there, over 300 different batteries, and it just aren't a lot now available. Lipo testing will be a thing since lots of people are using them. Actually, very, very few people are using lipos. Very few compared to the overall population, vaping population. Now, for the drone community and stuff like that, yes, that would be that I could do huge, I want to get a huge audience with them because there are the battery testers for it. But they use a lot of lipos. But it's actually a small community. They're just all bunched together, and it makes looks like there's an awful lot of them. There's that regulated mod testing, which I'm getting more into also because depending where regulations go, that might be what our future is. Closed systems. Chasing clouds and flavor reviews. Battery Mooch, battery space Mooch up front. I have a lot of 30Qs, Samsung 30Qs. Any thoughts of quality? It's one of the best batteries we can buy, for moderate power vaping. 45 watts, 15 amps maximum on those. They're fantastic batteries. They're top two Sony VT, well, Murata VT6 now, VTC6 now, and Samsung 30Qs. My two choices for moderate power vaping. Mooch, Mancunia Biker, battery space Mooch up front, please. What are your thoughts on the whole Samsung debacle, cease and desist? I covered this in a post a little bit, but perfectly expected, completely understandable. Do I like it? No. Would I prefer that they support us? Yes, but I completely understand that because we're a tiny, tiny market. There's no money supporting the vaping community, and we have huge liability issues. It just makes no sense for them to support us. So it's perfectly understandable for LG, Samsung, and I wouldn't be surprised if Murata does it at some time to say, whoa, I mean, right from the beginning, for years and years and years, the data sheets have said only in battery packs. And then they started putting them on the batteries, on the battery boxes and stuff like that. It didn't make a difference. Now they're saying, well, okay, we're putting it on the wraps. We're sending cease and desist orders and stuff like that. We're going to get serious on the stuff we've been telling you not to do for many, many, many years. It's very unfortunate though, and I hate to see that because I think it's going to force people into some overrated, ridiculous batteries. It's going to be exploited by people who are less than reputable. These batteries if they start coming off the market. So I hate to see this, but I do understand the business side of why they're doing it. Chasing Clouds and favorite reviews. Thank you. I guess you're talking about the 30Qs. He's had a couple of sets for a couple of years. They still seem to be kicking. But laughing out loud. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to replace them just because it's been a couple of years. Let the performance and anything weird that they may do. I mean, you're using them at your own risk. Any battery. I can never say a battery is safe to use, no matter how careful you are. That's impossible because it's not safe to use them. They're never meant for this kind of use. So we use them at our own risk. But there's no reason they can't be used for 5 years or something, as long as they're being well taken care of, there are no internal defects, blah, blah, blah. Jimmy Wolf, is Sony Murata cracking down also? No, not actively, but the batteries, added that not, only to be used in battery pack warning a couple of years ago, year and a half ago, a couple of years ago. And, if they see the other companies having success or they're named in more lawsuits and they start to go, oh, no, 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 we don't want any part of this, then they might become more active too. Some people say to me, Mooch, why don't they just, you know, start a safety program, try to educate the public and stuff. Problem is, right from the beginning, these cells are not made to be used in battery packs. If they start an education program, they're saying, ignore everything we've said. And that opens them up to a flood of lawsuits because then now they're going back on what they said before, namely that, no, you can't use them outside of a battery pack. So they got to stick to that note. Because actually, when you think about it, having the positive and negative both up at the top, protected only by little tiny bit of plastic. That's insanity for a device being handled by user hands. They're looking at it, the way it's designed. It is clearly made to be used in a battery pack only. 18650s, 26650s, all the round cells. Hayes, VE, thanks. You're welcome. Don't remember what I answered before. Do you know the Mi Box Receiver 12? Yes, I did a test of it. I guess it has a few advantages over other chargers in this price segment. Yeah, I don't remember what I liked and what I didn't like about it. but you can check the link to my blog in the description section below and go to my charger test link and work your way through to find my test report of it. All the chargers have a little something or other that I didn't like, which is why I don't have a recommended charger. So it's really what you value and what you can deal with. If the charger's like this, but you want that, then you're not going to buy it. But someone else might go, I don't care about that mix. That's exactly what I'm looking for. John Beninati, I've seen your charts on the net and in Facebook groups. Where do you personally post your results of test? So I and everyone watching that don't know can stay up to date. Home base is ECF, Electronic Cigarette Forum. My blog at ECF. That's link is in the post below. But I post everything I post there. That's where I post everything, and then Facebook points to there. Instagram has stuff I take from there. ECR points back to that. But you can find me on ECR, ECF, Instagram as Battery Mooch, and Facebook is Mooch. Not the Battery Mooch page. Nothing on that page. Just use it as a placeholder to send you to Mooch. But my blog at ECF is home base. That's like it was the first forum I joined, so I just stayed there, putting all my stuff there. Vaping Irish. Honestly, I'd love to use more lipos, but there isn't much info out there on the reliability of the manufacturer's ratings. Yeah, well, that's it. The C rating, which is utterly and completely useless by definition, because you need the current rating and the capacity to get the C rating. But if you have the current rating and the capacity rating, you don't need the C rating. And you can't compare C ratings of batteries with different capacities. It's useless. So I and it's the most ridiculous. I mean, 10C batteries, or excuse me, 100C batteries were 10C, genuine, true rating 10C. It's a brutally, and the graphene thing. They put one sheet of graphene inside the cell and they call it a graphene battery. It's not. It's not even there to store lithium ions. It's there as a conductivity enhancer. No. So it's all this that it's round lipos, but it's just a whole nother thing. Well, if I run out of round cells to do, I may have to start testing lipos for the RC community and say, hey, I've got these great batteries for the vaping community too, and just work both sides. Susan Cooper, there's no such thing as a 10 amp high mod battery that will outperform a 30Q for 15 amp. No, no. The problem, Susan, with the ultra high capacity 10 amp batteries, they're best at about 7 amps and under. So running them at 15 amps, the higher the capacity, the higher the internal resistance of the battery. And that means there's more voltage sag on the battery. So they can run fairly efficiently, not too much sag if you don't run them near their rating. But if you want to run a 10 amp battery at like 15 amps, you're getting huge voltage sag, which means you're going to get, because the voltage sags down every time you take a puff, that means you're never going to be able to use the full capacity of the battery. And your mod's going to say, whoa, weak battery, replace the battery. Where your 30Q or something like that won't sag as low, so you can use it longer, which means a 3,000 milliampere hour Samsung 30Q can actually run longer at 15 amps than a 3,550 milliampere hour Panasonic, the NCR 1850G that I just posted. It has to do with efficiency. Looking capacity, you only get maybe times 2 guess at how long it'll run. How efficient that battery is really important. Not running anywhere near the ratings of any battery is a great way. Staying at under 75%. It's a great way to get the best performance from the battery. Often we don't want to do that because it means a second battery or something like that, though. So it's a trade-off you have to make. CCVJ, I have been testing batteries since 1986. 1992, I started going full-time, designing power electronics for my clients, and testing batteries has always been a small part of that. Testing batteries for the vaping community, I've been doing pretty much, well, not full-time, but a lot of it. 5 years come the end of March, beginning of April. So in a couple weeks, a month, it'll be 5 years. Hi, Rick. Mooch. Put battery Mooch in the front. What is your favorite mod at the moment? I would say, see, my old ones, I don't lose as my favorites, so I rotate constantly. The clutch, I'm loving with the Goon 1.5, eFusion Duo, Pearl, uh, stainless and with the pearl plates, another pearl plates with an intake dual on it I love, or an iconic in stainless I like. Other favorite mods, topside squonker, one of the favorites. I don't squonk a lot, but that's the one I use. Still like the Keen as for a mech, stainless Keen, and I can't. Nothing's popping up right now beyond that. Yeah, Justin, thank you for mentioning that, and that's part of that efficiency thing. Chris Robertson, always love the power hours, but I'll have to catch this on the replay as my bandwidth is shot. Can power tool batteries be rebuilt? It's always possible. It's really, is it worth it? And do you know enough in terms of the safety and technically to do it safely? Because you're peeling off, spot welding strips, and you got to spot weld a new battery pack together, or find some other kind of interconnect method. So it can be a lot of grief, and sometimes it's just easy to go, oh, I'm just going to buy another pack. But thanks for joining us. Kim Svensson, did I say hello before? If not, hello. I have 6 VTC5A in my rotation. Should they be charged or discharged while in the queue? Keep them about halfway. You know what? If you use them down to like 3.6, 3.2 volts or something, that's fine. Leave them there. Don't charge them at all. Just leave them at 3.5, 3.6, 3.7, 3.8, 3.3, 3.4. It doesn't matter. Somewhere in the middle like that. And if you get back to it in a couple of weeks, a month, that's fine. Any longer than that, bring it up to like 3.6, 3.7 volts. That's perfect. That's what I do. I use the cell and then I leave it. I don't recharge it. I recharge it just before I use it. That way it spends the least amount of time at the high voltage, which can accelerate just a little bit, accelerate the aging of the battery. Dan the Man, howdy. Thanks for joining us. J Dub, question. Do you plan on testing the Dreamer 1.5 with the constant contact switch? No plans to do that. I can't afford to buy all the mechs that are requested to be tested. Sometimes a manufacturer contacts me, they want something tested. I wouldn't mind owning a Dreamer, but I don't have the money to buy one for myself, so I don't know when I'll be testing it, but it's not in the queue. So I'd say at least summer before then, especially with my income essentially dropping to zero because of everyone pulling back. Kim Svensson, well, not zero, almost zero. Oh, I did that. Sorry. Chasing Clouds and Flavor Reviews. Do you only test batteries we use for vaping, or do you check out cell phone batteries too? Well, I do flashlight, drone, lipos, vaping batteries, and yeah, a couple others, but no cell phone batteries, no AA's or NiCads or nickel metal hydrides batteries like that. Yeah, for the cell phone batteries, testing all the China replacement batteries. Eek. I'm thinking there's got to be someone who does all that though, because that's a perfect niche to get into, and you're just testing them, see which may hold up. Cycle life testing, hopefully. John Betanati. Oh, that's the Justin. Phil Lee, welcome. Late is never a problem. Anyone coming by is always appreciated, no matter when they come by. Phil Lee, most regulated mods cut off at 3.2, which isn't a bad voltage to store at, especially since it's 3.2 when it sags. That's going to bounce back up to 3.5, 3.6. Unless you're at very low wattage, you're actually not bringing the battery all the way down to 3.2. It's just sagging to 3.2. Rick Crawford, hello from Rochester. Hello, sir. I spent a lot of weeks up at Eastman Kodak. They were a big client of mine. I was a preferred vendor for the professional products division for a few years back in the 90s. And I was spending a lot of time up in Rochester. Downtown was always empty, but there was a Marriott over on, 104 that I hung out. People there were awesome. And there was a great mini mall that had some great restaurants nearby. Trouble is, oh, that lake effect snow. You just look up and it's sunshine on one side of the highway and a wall of snow on the other side. Weirdest thing I've ever seen. Vaping Irish, how do you test the current ratings, by the way? Is it just a matter of attaching a load that will draw a certain amperage and measure the temperature, or is it more complex setup? That's basically it. You're measuring it and plotting the results. It's not just temperature, but you're also looking at the discharge curves on a graph. And you're looking at temperature because you don't want it to ever exceed a certain limit. I use 80 degrees Celsius. That's just plenty damn hot. And it's about the highest number I see on any data sheet saying you shouldn't go over. And most batteries are around 80C at their claimed ratings, from the big manufacturers. Now, you're also looking though at voltasag because the ultra high capacity batteries will never get up to 80 degrees C. The voltasag gets so severe at anything when you're running them really hard that you're just going to dive down the voltage and they become unusable. Those around 60, 65 Celsius or something get the ratings. I'm also looking at, is it a nice, beautiful straight curve to the end when it bombs down, or does it really dip down, then heat back up and recover? That's a sign of a cell being stressed hard. And that's another way you can figure it out. You can also look at how, let's say you do 5, 10, 15, 20 amps. You're looking at how they're spacing. Because the difference between 5 and 10, that's doubling the current. Difference between 10 and 15, that's only a 15% jump. Difference between 15 and 20, that's only a 33% jump. So you should see them bunching up as you get higher and higher. But if you see them really start spacing out, namely lots of voltage sag, so they're discharging at very low voltages, that's an indication the cell is also being stressed. And you're comparing that to the curves for Samsung, Sony's, and LGs at their ratings, and that's sort of a library in here, but I can pull those up also. And you're comparing that to the discharge curves and temperatures of a cell I don't know about it. And then I just try to be conservative. Say, hey, I'm not going to rate them really, really high because if I'm unsure, bring it down another 5 amps and be conservative about it. And then it's only an estimate too. Because a rating, ideally, a rating is safety, performance, and cycle life. You look at the specs and they say, hey, 20 amps, but that's 250 cycles. Well, that means it could be a 30 amp battery for 100 cycles, a 50 amp battery for 25 cycles. That's insanity, but it's that kind of thing. You can go in the other direction. If you only rated at 5 amps, you might get 2,000 cycles from it. So it's a balance of all those things. And so a lot of it is just my experience, my personal priorities and preferences in terms of rating. People can just go, that's stupid. That's a ridiculous rating, Mooch. The hell with you. Or they go, okay, that kind of makes sense because look at these other batteries and they come close to that. Be sure to put battery space Mooch. Don't need a hashtag, don't need an @ sign at the beginning of any questions for me to see it. Tuki, first, I happen to catch your question because right in front of another one. Is it better to be positive up on a hybrid or negative end RDA? Thanks for all you do. Thank you. Um, Follow the manufacturer's directions because there are going to be different safety features, different things going on in the mech that I may not know about that may affect safety. You just can't say, oh, this is better or that is better. Follow the manufacturer's recommendations every single time. Where the venting holes are, venting slots, etc. That matters also. CCVJ, thanks for acknowledging. Would have left some cash but lost my card. Eek. Had to cancel. Haven't gotten a new one. Next time, whenever comfortable, whenever you want. It's always appreciated whenever anyone can help out and donate, support my testing. Thank you, though. John Beninati. Do batteries have to be brand new to be married? I stupidly took a battery out of a married set to put in a single mod. I put it back in. They don't seem to be at the same level anymore. Even after charging together, now one is discharging more than the other. It really depends how long they were unmarried. If you accidentally take one battery, use it once without abusing it, and put it back in the married set, okay, that's probably all right. I can never say, oh, that's safe, because I don't know what happened when you took the battery out. I'm just saying, if this and if that and everything's all fine, it should be okay. But if you took it out and 2 weeks later you want to put it back, I'd be like, no, no, just keep them separate. Use those two separately now. They're now divorced and get a new set. Um, if it's not acting the same, if it's not behaving like it was before, then something might have happened. And don't use it as a married set anymore. That's the only thing I can say. I have to err on the side of caution because I don't know what's going on. Phil Lee, are Molicel in Taiwan? Yes. Manufacturing and some offices are in Taiwan. Their R&D, and I think the corporate offices, or some of the corporate offices, actually in both countries, are in Canada. Stuart Ayrton, good evening. Welcome. How about adding a puff count rating for mech users to your performance charts? Well, I have puff count ratings now for all my battery tests in the ratings graphic, and eventually I'll get the ratings tables updated. Performance charts. Um, I think that's what you're talking about. When it has a photo and it has all the stats below. Puff counts have been on there for a month now, or a couple of weeks at least. But I've added that the past several, at least maybe a dozen tests have the puff counts. It's derived from the watt hours. You can get puff counts anytime from watt hours. You just figure out, if you got how many watts for how many hours. Okay, that's good. There's your watt hour. Your puff is a certain number of watts for a certain number of seconds. Let's say 2 seconds at 30 watts. That is 2 times 30 watts, 60 watt seconds of energy used. Now you've got your watt hours, multiply that by 3600, now you have watt seconds. So now you've got your watt seconds ratings for my test, and you've got the watt seconds you use per puff. Just divide one by the other. You figure out how many watt second clumps for each puff fit in the watt hour or watt second ratings you convert it to. Essentially, how many puffs in watt seconds can you fit into the watt hours? So you're able to get from anything I've done where I have watt hours, which what have I been doing a year or two, you can get for where you use. You just have to estimate the wattage that you want to use. But otherwise, puff counts are in all my tests. I hope any of that made sense. Oh, you guys are buffering? Yeah, I mean it looks smooth here, but it always does that. But a lot of people on the web looking at their coronavirus things, and I hope everybody is healthy, and I hope everybody stays healthy, and I hope you're finding the things you need to get a minor stocking up, not any kind of hoarding. Oh, work at home policies too. Thank you, Philly. I didn't even think of that. Vans 1208. I accidentally left my Molicel P26As on my topside carbon with the EHE chip, which is known for draining batteries, drained up to 2.2 volts. Should I get rid of them? You're asking me to make a safety call, which means my answer has to be yes, get rid of them. It has to be, because I don't know what's happened to your batteries. I don't know if they get damaged below 2.5 or not, or how quickly it happens. So I have to answer replace them because that is below the minimum voltage for them. They might be okay. They might be fine in terms of time, in terms of what happens to those particular cells. But for a safety thing, I have to say yes, replace them, unfortunately. Ma dude, I like that. MAH. Greetings and salutations. We've done scientific control tests on all top name batteries, and the results were totally inconsistent. Just saying. We've done scientific control tests on all top name batteries, and the results were totally inconsistent. Just saying. I don't understand that though. Um, you've done tests, and they're all inconsistent with each other or with someone else's tests. Information required. 10 minutes left or so. John, first time I've caught one of these live shows. Some great questions and answers already. Thank you for joining us. And certainly if you had any more on your own, please. Willie W, I mean puff count ratings specifically for mech users, so not constant wattage. Oh, you have to convert based on what you think the running voltage is for your battery. See, the problem is it depends on the voltage of your battery. And so I would need to have, 10 different puff count ratings for batteries running a different voltage. I don't know what battery you're using and where your voltage is. Your build, get the current, multiply the current by the voltage, and you'll get a wattage. And remember, also the wattage changes. Your starting wattage is going to be very different from your finishing wattage. So the numbers that I can come up with for a mech user would be huge. And I'm not going to be, I can't come up with something. Now, if you're saying come up with a mech only number for each battery, that's still, it varies on how the mech user uses it, and it varies by his coil resistance. So I'd have to have a bunch of numbers mech user, and I'm just not able to come up with numbers where each mech user can come up with a perfect number for their specific use. You just need to calculate your power, what power you're vaping at. and then use that same power level for comparing one battery to the other. But if you're comparing one battery to another, it really doesn't matter if you're using regulated or not, MEC or not. You can just see, well, which one is the better battery for roughly the power level I vape at. If you've got, 60 watts or 90 watts, let's say, for a better battery, um, puff count, it doesn't matter that you might be vaping at 120 watts on the MEC. You want the highest uh, puff count at the 90-watt rating or the 60-watt rating, and that's going to be the most efficient battery for your use, even though you're using it in a mech. So you're still looking for the highest number. You don't need to have all the math done to say, okay, derive it for me for my particular style of vaping. It's just interpreting the numbers to say, oh, bigger is better. Okay, I'll just use the highest puff count for 60 watts or 90 watts. Justin, do you remember the grade B molly cells I got that were below 1 volt? I charged them and used them fine. Well, there we go. Yeah, but we can never use one person's individual experience to generalize and say everyone could do that. I could never say, oh, yeah, because this one guy, he discharged down to 1 volt and it was fine. It might be cell specific. It depends how long it happened. There are a lot of things here, and we can't translate that to other cells. So, that's fantastic for any one person, and I'm glad you're able to get your cells back. But I can never, I have to err on the side of caution. I can't possibly give someone a general response and saying, oh, yeah, 2.2, that's fine. That would be irresponsible of me, or your cells. Yeah, I got to go, ooh, whoa, okay, 1 volt, and you got it back. Well, I don't recommend anybody do that, but I'm glad you got yours back. We have to be really, really careful with the advice we give. We cannot generalize, even though we know it's going to be okay, probably 99.9% of the time. That still means there'd be 15, 20 vapors out there it wouldn't be okay for, and that's unacceptable to put anybody in jeopardy. My dude, in other words, there's for his major manufacturer testing, there's imperfection in all name brand cells. I'm still lost as to why you're saying that all the testing has shown that there are imperfections in all the name brand cells. Why do you say that though? That's where I'm kind of confused in. The vast majority of them, if not every single one's hit its ratings. The ones where they haven't hit the ratings when I get lower grade cells. But for the decent grade cells, they all hit their ratings. So I just didn't understand what you're referring to in terms of the test reports showing that there are imperfections in all the name brand cells. Saurav Nayak, thanks for the live stream. You're welcome. Wanted some answers directly from you. Well, ask away. We got about 7 minutes left. Jimmy Wolf, did you see the article on EV batteries being damaged with the fast charge setting? Any thoughts about it? It's true. People want to charge. I mean, any battery fast charged is going to age faster. And people with cars want them charged really, really fast. Most people don't want to wait for an overnight charge. They want to drive to the store, or they're going on a long trip. They want to use these cars on long trips, and they need to just stop more than once, and they want to charge really quickly. So that's going to accelerate the aging of the battery. Fast charging will do that for any battery in any circumstance. But for EVs, where they do something really, really fast, just dumping the current in charging, that's a problem. That's going to age the battery, and all people always need to understand that. My dude, some aren't what they claim amp-wise. Some were duds. I haven't seen any name brand battery not meet its current rating. They all do. You have to understand what the current ratings are and what they're set up for, like the VTCs. Those current ratings are for non-continuous use and power tools and electric vacuum cleaners and things like that. So you can't say, oh, this VTC is not, VTC 5A isn't a 35 amp battery. I gave it 25 amp. I do continuous current ratings because you can compare those across any batteries. So, duds, the failure rate for the big name batteries are 1 in a million cells. It's the most often quoted number. If you're seeing any duds above that, that's because if someone told me we never got grade A cells from the manufacturers, I would believe it. We have literally may have never gotten grade A cells. I'm not trying to diss any vendors out there. I'm just giving this theoretical scenario. We get a lot of lower grade cells stored really badly, and duds can be caused, just duds straight from the factory That I haven't seen from the name brand cells. Duds from China factories I've seen, but I'm not seeing what you're talking about. Cholo Ranch. Sorry, I'm going to have to catch a replay. No worries, because I really want to pay attention to Q&As. Too distracted. No worries. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for coming anyway. My dude, we think there's all kinds of shenanigans afoot. Well, not by the manufacturers, though. We get our stuff on the gray market, excess inventory, stuff that's been stored in warehouses for 2 years, stuff that's being sold, been diverted, that's supposed to be recycled. We get nothing directly from the manufacturer. They don't sell to anybody who sells to us. They sell to their commercial and industrial clients. So there's nothing going on with the manufacturers. They cannot survive sending overrated cells that are duds to their huge, who buy millions of cells a year, commercial, industrial, aerospace, military customers. They have responsibility to them, and they hold up to that responsibility. They have good quality cells. What we get are the dregs that end up on the market, and we're going to get all kinds of quality issues. And we'll take one more question. Scott Bogfoot, you're the last one here. Is there any battery risk for outdoor lights that use 18650s and recharge with a solar cell? Whether poor charge, that's up to the individual device. I don't know. Some could do it with a great charge controller and they're weather sealed and everything's fine. Others could be total crap and overcharge the battery in a blazing sun, or don't have a good cutoff or something like that. It's up to the individual device. I wouldn't be able to say across the board. I would say beware the really cheap ones. Maybe you want to, when it says charge or something, you want, pull it out and take a voltage reading or something like that, or see how hot the battery gets sitting out there. And actually, I'll take another one. Yeah. Brad Palmer. I accidentally left a pair of mollies and a MOSFET mod. They discharged at 1 volt. Yeah, it just ain't worth it. It's just not worth it. Some people would. Justin went fine. Others will be like, no, no, no. Me, I'd be like, batteries are cheap. They last years. I'll replace them. John, I need to change my battery charger. Will 1 amp charger shorten the life by 18650s? 25 hours and 30 Qs. This will be the last question. No more questions, please. No, no. The standard charging rate for those two batteries is above 1 amp. It's like 1.25 or 1.5 amps. So, well, any charging, any use shortens the life of the battery, but that is within the standard charging rate. That's not fast charging on all of them. Just make sure the charger itself doesn't get the batteries warm. Some Niquahs I was using, the ones with the AC power supplies built inside, not the newer ones, generate so much heat, they heat up the batteries even at 0.5 amp. That's not good. That shortens the life on stuff. And that is it for this week. Make sure you guys check out the boys at another Vape show, and tell them Mooch sent you for all the wonderful topics that they have. And I'll see all of you over there in chat. Otherwise, thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for your questions. There were some terrific questions tonight. It was kind of refreshing not having my own topic and just diving in stuff you wanted. I may do that more often. Thank you all. Take care.